Greetings. I am Niccolò Machiavelli, once a servant of the Florentine Republic, now your guide through one of history's most misunderstood works, The Prince. For centuries, readers have approached my book with fear, fascination, or outright suspicion. But very few have understood it. Even fewer have applied it correctly. Over the next 10 episodes, I will take you behind the curtain, into the logic, the strategy, and the hard-earned lessons that shaped The Prince. Not the caricature you've heard about, not the myths others have built around my name, but the principles as I intended them, clear, pragmatic, and forged in the brutal reality of power. Today, in this first chapter, we begin where all rulers must begin, the Prince's Playbook. If you wish to understand power, influence, and the forces that truly move states and leaders, then follow closely. The game is older than any of us, but the rules have not changed. So, you've come seeking power. You want to understand how it all works, how kingdoms are won, how they're held, and more importantly, how they're lost. Well, I suggest you forget everything you think you know. Forget the poets and the philosophers. What I'm about to share with you isn't a lecture on how a ruler should act. This is a practical, no-nonsense guide on how a ruler must act if he wants to survive. Now, you're probably wondering, who is this guy daring to give advice to a prince? Well, I'm not another ruler. I wasn't born into greatness. Think of it like this. A painter has to stand down in the valley to really see the shape of the mountains. In the same way, I, a man of the people, have to stand below to truly understand the nature of princes. My perspective isn't a weakness, it's my greatest strength. My name is Niccolò Machiavelli. And no, I'm not a prince, but I've been in the trenches. I've been a diplomat, an official, a man who has seen the gears of power grinding up close. I've watched great men rise, and I've watched them fall. And believe me, I've had my own run-ins with the cruel whims of fortune. So, my gift to you, Prince, isn't gold or jewels. It's something far more valuable. It's everything I've managed to learn over so many years, through so much trouble and so much danger. It's the hard-won wisdom of experience, a playbook forged in the fire of real-world politics and the study of history. Okay, let's get down to business. The first, most basic challenge you'll ever face. See, all states are either handed down to you or they're brand new. And it's in grabbing that new power that a prince's real test truly begins. Look, holding on to a state you inherited is relatively simple. The people are used to your family, they know the drill, but seizing a new one? Oh, that is a hornet's nest. People will switch sides thinking you'll be better than the last guy, but they're almost always wrong. And suddenly, you've got a huge problem on your hands. And here's the crucial point. The real paradox of power you have to get your head around. The very act of conquest plants the seeds of your own downfall. You make enemies of everyone you hurt along the way, and you can never, ever satisfy the friends who helped you get there. You injure many, and you satisfy very few. If you want to see how this plays out in the real world, just look at King Louis XII of France and his total disaster in Italy. I mean, it's a perfect case study in what not to do. He did the exact opposite of what was needed. He eliminated the weak, made a powerful neighbor even stronger, invited in a foreign rival. He didn't even bother to live there. It was just one mistake piled on top of another, and it led to his complete ruin. And from his failure, we learn a timeless rule. Write this down. It almost never fails. The moment you are the reason someone else becomes powerful, you're finished. You've sealed your own fate. Because they will see the very cunning or force you use to help them, and they'll eventually use that new strength against you. This brings us to the absolute foundation of your rule. Your laws, your authority, your entire state. It all rests on one thing and one thing only: the strength of your army. Without a powerful military that is loyal to you and you alone, you are nothing. You'll hear a lot of people talk about good laws, but I'm telling you, you can't have good laws if you don't have good arms to back them up. A strong military is the foundation that everything else is built on. Period. And whatever you do, don't be tempted to hire mercenaries. It might seem easy, but they are completely useless and incredibly dangerous. Their only loyalty is to their paycheck, and trust me, you can't pay a man enough to make him willing to die for you. In peacetime, they'll rob you blind, and the minute a real war starts, they'll be the first to run. You know what's even worse than mercenaries? Auxiliaries. We're talking about the armies of your allies. Think about it. If they lose, you're ruined right along with them. And if they win, well, now you're their captive. You've just placed your entire fate in someone else's hands. It's a fool's bargain. The lesson here is crystal clear. A wise prince would rather lose a battle with his own troops than win with someone else's. Why? Because a victory won with foreign arms isn't a real victory at all. True, lasting power comes from an army of your own citizens, loyal only to you. Okay, so you've got your own army and you've secured your territory. Now we need to talk about something a little more subtle. Managing your public image. How your people see you is just as important as any fortress wall. This brings us to probably the most famous question a ruler will ever have to ask himself. When it comes down to your subjects, what's the better play? Is it better to be loved than feared, or feared than loved? Look, ideally you'd want be both, of course, but that's really, really hard to pull off. So if you have to choose, if one has to go, the answer is simple. It is much, much safer to be feared. Why? It's simple, really. You have to deal with men as they are, not as you'd like them to be. And let's be blunt, men are ungrateful, they're fickle, they're liars. Love is held by a flimsy chain of obligation, one they will snap the second it's good for them. But fear? Fear is held by the dread of punishment, and that, my friend, never fails. But, and this is absolutely crucial, there's a difference between being feared and being hated. You want fear, not hatred. Hatred is poison, and the way you avoid it is simple. Keep your hands off your citizens' property and their women. Believe me, a man will forget the death of his own father faster than he'll forget the loss of his inheritance. Now, to survive in this world, a prince has got to be part man, part beast, and from the animal kingdom, you need to learn from two, the lion and the fox. The lion represents force. He's strong, he terrifies the wolves, but he's not very smart. He can't see the traps. The fox, on the other hand, is cunning. He spots the traps from a mile away, but he can't fight off the wolves. A prince can't just be one or the other. He must be both. A prince who knows how to be a fox understands a very difficult truth about promises. Look, if all men were good, this would be terrible advice, but they're not. They will break their word to you in a heartbeat, so you can't be bound to keep your word to them when it no longer helps you. You just have to become a master of disguise, an expert at pretending. So you can build your armies, you can manage your image, you can master the ways of the lion and the fox. But there's still one last opponent that every single ruler has to face, one that you can never fully beat: fortune. But don't think of fortune as some unchangeable fate. I don't buy that. I think she controls about half of what happens to us, but that still leaves the other half for us to control. She's not your master, she's just a very powerful opponent in the game. The best way to think about fortune is like a raging river. When it floods, it's total destruction, washes everything away. But that doesn't mean that when the weather is nice, you can't build dams and barriers to prepare for the next flood. A wise man uses good times to prepare for the bad times he knows are coming. In the end, I really believe it's better to be bold than to be cautious. Fortune, you see, is a woman. And like a woman, she prefers young men, men who are less careful, more aggressive, who command her with more audacity. So the final question isn't about right or wrong. It's about your will. Are you bold enough to grab fortune and bend her to your will? Master the lessons of this episode well, and join me in episode 2, where we will examine the struggle between old money and new power. Arrivederci.
This has been another dispatch from the Dead Expert Society. The dead have spoken, but what say the living? Let us know below.